Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Zeenat Mustafa.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando, and here are your headlines for tonight.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa invited to join the SLFP. Patients suffer while doctors strike. Notice served on Prime Minister's secretary. Government backbench MPs criticise the government. Inland water transport project in Beira Lake launched.
Now taking a look at those stories in details. The Government Medical Officers Association launched a 24-hour token strike at 8 this morning.
The GMOA had put forward 8 demands, including the failure to establish a minimum standard for medical education and against the attempt to make the Medical Council dysfunctional through the proposed Quality Certification and Standards Commission. The strike will be conducted until 8 a.m. tomorrow. The strike is not taking place at maternity hospitals, children's hospitals, the Maharagama Apeksha Hospital, nephrology dialysis and kidney transplant units and hospitals of the 3 armed forces. Emergency services at public hospitals will continue as usual.
डॉक्टरला पार्ट वैल्यू නැහැ ඇවිල්ලා අපව ගියා දොස්තරලා එහෙම ස්ට්‍රයික් කිරීමෙන් ඉතින් අසරණ ලෙඩ තමයි අසරණ වෙන්නේ
අපි නෑනගේ දරුවා පෙන්නන්න ආවේ මේ කුඩාවේ දැන් ආවේ දැන් මේ එහෙන් අපේ එහෙන් එනවා රාත් දෙකයි එනකොට
අද දෙන්නේ ස්ට්‍රයික් කරනවා බෙහෙත් ගන්න ක්ලිනික් එකට ආවේ අද බෙහෙත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ හෙට එන්න කියලා අපි ආපහු අරවල ඇරියා ඉතින් දැන් මෙතන ඉන්නවා කී දවල් වෙලා හරි මොනවා හරි වෙයිද කියලා බලාගෙන
මම වක්කුවකඩුලේ ඊයේ 12 වාටේ ඉඳන් ටිකට් කපුවා ඊට පස්සේ හවස බෙහෙත් ගන්න ගොඩාක් අමාරු වුණාට පස්සේ බෙහෙත් ටික අරන් OPD එකේ තමයි නිදාගත්තේ ඒකත් ඉතින් ડોක්ටර්ස්ලා නැහැ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ.
This was a situation at hospitals across the island.
Instead of substandard medicine, now there are substandard doctors. The Auditor General's report has confirmed substandard medicine was imported into the country. I saw they were going to appoint as doctors the people who have sat for their exams about 80 times. They have not passed 3 subjects at the advanced level examination. They have 3 Fs. To be a community health officer, the minimum requirement is 3 simple passes at the advanced level examination, and they have to follow the bio stream. We give the responsible officials 2 weeks to come up with a solution to these issues. If solutions are not provided, we will launch a more severe trade union action. The doctors have launched a strike action today. If the minimum standard for medical education is not gazetted, the issue regarding the 3 simple passes will continue to crop up. Therefore, I would like to ask as to when this would come to an end. The matter was sent to be published as a gazette. The GMOA knows we have sent it to be published as a gazette. This is why they have launched a strike action. Afterwards, they will come out and say it was because we launched a strike action, this was done. This is an old tactic of trade unions.
Ruling party MPs were vocal in Parliament today over the responses given to them for questions posed earlier at the House of Legislature.
MP Tushara Indunil posed a question to the Minister of Disaster Management regarding the communities affected by the drought in the Kurunegala district.
Based on the DMC report dated 3rd of July 2019, the number of affected families by the drought in the Kurunegala district was 4,399.
I cannot be satisfied with these figures. It would be wise if the subject minister was present. When such figures are presented, it is clear to us what kind of solution were given to the affected people. I am disappointed to say that these statistics may be of those who were about to die of thirst. The role of the Ministry of Disaster Management needs to be questioned as well.
Backbench MP Hesha Vithanage raised a question on the rural bridge project launched by the Ministry of Local Government, during the period of the national government.
The Ministry of Internal and Home Affairs and provincial councils and local government did not produce a plan for the construction of 500 bridges.
The response noted there was no project. As far as I am aware, 12 bridges were constructed for my electorate during the tenure of former Minister Faisal Mustafa.
The previous agreements are over. There are 2 new agreements which were presented by the Prime Minister for implementation via the Ministry of National Policies.
SLFP MPs were connected with this ministry for a long period when the national government was in effect. During the time of the SLFP minister, measures were taken to construct bridges in our district. We are aware your ministry received a large sum of money for the program to construct the bridges. Therefore, the program is one where the construction of bridges are limited to districts. Can you comment district-wise the number of bridges constructed so far? The question we have now is, would this continue to be in this government and support it in the future?
Special attention was given to the north and east, and is not something wrong. If you can provide the figures on bridges, they can be included into the 2 new agreements.
On the 27th of March 2018, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs and Faisal Mustafa as the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government produced a joint cabinet paper for the construction of 250 rural bridges. The objective was to further enhance the Rural Bridges project, which was launched in 2014. The cabinet paper requested approval to obtain additional financing from the German Deutsche Bank and the Danish Rabobank to procure and construct approximately 250 additional bridges.
On one hand, we have an issue as to why the Prime Minister is getting involved in a subject that does not fall under the purview of his ministry. The other issue is that this government, which came into power on promises of good governance, was of the stance that development activities will not be conducted outside the tender procurement process. But now we can see that they are preparing to launch these programs outside of the procurement guidelines.
The proposal sought approval for the construction of these bridges be given to British and Dutch companies which undertook the previous projects. For the construction of 250 additional bridges, a sum of almost 10 billion rupees will be required. The UK construction firm has proposed just over 49 million British pounds, which is almost 10 billion rupees. The Dutch construction firm has proposed just over 52 million euros, which is almost 9.9 billion rupees. Under this project, a number of bridges were constructed in the Kilinochchi district, and this is the fate of those bridges today. The bridges in Kilinochchi, Murusumote, Ayyenkoviladi and Vattakachi are nearing destruction. The locals allege the bridges were ruined in months because of the substandard construction material. Parliamentarian Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca is currently attending a discussion in Colombo. This was confirmed by a security official of the parliamentarian. Stay tuned to News First for more details. And in other local news, UN parliamentarian Nalin Bandara, speaking in Parliament today, hinted at possible future plans.
We as the United National Party and the United National Front are ready to venture into a new era. We are working towards that. We believe it's time to create an era for good people, and we believe it can be done in a very short period. We are drafting programs for this purpose. We need to launch a program where the aspirations of the poor will be met. It is with this hope we can take the country forward.
Now here's the response from UNP MP Mujibur Rahman over the presidential election candidate. Deputy Leader Sajith Premadasa said he has an aspiration to become the presidential candidate, and it was published in the media. The Prime Minister never said Sajith Premadasa would not be given an opportunity. The matter is being discussed internally, and I believe a positive response would be given very soon. The candidate put forward with the consent of all will emerge victorious. Meanwhile, the Jatika Helurume convened a media briefing today. We do not think a candidate who does not come from a broad alliance can win this election. All of these issues regarding the formation of an alliance were solved. There is no issue on what the name of the alliance is, the symbol, the office, the General Secretary, the leader or the Leadership Council, or the process to be followed to select the presidential candidate. So we request the alliance to be formed and the candidate for the presidential election be announced without any further delay. If this is postponed, we are of the opinion that this is a step taken to defeat the democratic forces. We specially request the Prime Minister, the leader of the United National Party and the leadership of the party to make the announcement soon. If not, we will have to look at the alternatives.
විකල්ප පියවරක් ගැනීමට සිදුවන බවත් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න.
මේ සම්දානයේ පිළිපීමේදී දැන් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයා තමයි මේ අනිත් අපේක්ෂා දෙන්නේ කියලා බොහෝ ඉස්සජාති පක්ෂයේ ඉල්ලීමදී
සම්දානයේ
We have a consent from him as well and his team with regard to the matters on forming the alliance and its constitution.
එකඟතාවය ලැබිලා තියෙනවා.
ඉස්සජාති පක්ෂයේ සමහර දේශපාලන කොටස්වල
We will not respond to them. Bear in mind, a party with only 46 seats became one with 78 seats in parliament because we destroyed the den of the Rajapaksas. There is no den to be destroyed now.
A bridge constructed in Walasmulda Hambantota under the Samata Sahana program was vested with the public today under the auspices of the Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa.
This bridge, named the Maharaja Walagamba, was constructed at a cost of 10.1 million rupees across the Batagasa Kirima Oya. Prior to the construction of this bridge, locals used a footbridge to cross over to the other side of the village. Minister Sajith Premadasa also used the same footbridge. Prior to the construction of this bridge, locals in this area, especially the children, used this footbridge to cross onto the other side. A child who used this footbridge even sustained injuries and was admitted to the hospital recently. I felt like using that footbridge myself for a very important reason. The leaders in the country do not understand the pulse of the people. Back then, a bulletproof car was more important than building a bridge to save the lives of the children. I can use both the footbridge and the new bridge. I am committed to serving the people of this country. UPFA General Secretary Mahinda Amaravira said that talks between the SLFP and the SLPP will resume next week.
ඊයේ රාත්‍රියේ කොළඹ ප්‍රධාන පෙළේ මෝටරයකදී ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා පවත්වපු සක්‍රිය සංවාදයකට ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීවරු ඔබතුමා ඇතුළු සහභාගී වුණා.
අපිට ආරාධනයක් කරා ඊයේ.
Our families were invited to attend a reception hosted last night. It was a cordial meeting and I was accompanied by MP Dayasri Jayasekara as well.
තුමා මාත් එක්කම එකම වාහනේ ගියේ. ඔව් එන්නේ. ඊයේ පාටියට ගියාද කියලා අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඇයි මේ භෝජන සංග්‍රහයක් අල්ලගන්නේ? වෙන වැඩ නැද්ද මාත්‍යෝ? ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයත්
Talks between the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana will resume on Monday. We hope to enforce the policies of the SLFP on behalf of the entire country.
වශයෙන් මේ සාකච්ඡාවලදී අවතීර්ණ වෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ.
එතකොට මේ සාකච්ඡාවලදී මේ ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාට සහාය දෙනවද නැද්ද කියන එක ගැන සාකච්ඡා වෙනවා.
ඔව් දැන් අපි මේ සාකච්ඡා
We hope to hold talks with both the SLPP and Gotabaya Rajapaksa. If a MOU is signed, it would only be with Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
අත්සන් කරනවා නම් අත්සන් වෙන්නේ එතුමත් එක්ක.
ඒ කියන්නේ පක්ෂයක් හැටියට දැන් මේ කියන්නේ ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාත් එක්ක අවබෝධතාවය උස්මත් අත්සන් කළ යුතුයි. ඒ වගේ තරක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
ජාතික වැඩපිළිවෙලක් පිළිබඳව තමයි අපිට වැදගත් වෙන්නේ. මම මේ වැඩපිළිවෙල ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ එතුමගෙන්ද කියන එක පිළිබඳව අපි විමසනවා.
ඔබතුමාලගේ අපේක්ෂකයි ජනාධිපති එවරණේ ඉවත් කරන්න බැහැ දැන් තියෙන තත්ත්වෙත් එක්ක.
ඒ මොකද නීතිමය බාධාවක් එහෙම නැහැ.
දැන් සාකච්ඡාවට යනවා. ඔබතුමාට කියන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඔබතුමා ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න එපා. අපි දානවා මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මහත්තයා. එහෙම කියන්න පුළුවන්ද?
අපිත් අපේක්ෂකයෙක් පිළිබඳව
If the talks fail, the SLFP will put forward its own candidate. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is not a member of the SLPP. At unofficial talks, we noted we will not work for the victory of a person representing a party.
දිනවන්න අපි කටයුතු කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා.
We have extended an invitation for him to join the SLFP. He can even remain as an independent individual. If he takes the membership of the SLFP, all the MPs, organisers and a strong cadre of 363,000 will work for him.
අපේ කාඩර් එකත් ඔක්කොම එළියට බහලා වැඩ කරයි.
අගමැතිකමට මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන ජනාධිපතිතුමා දාන්න සාකච්ඡා
නෑ අපි සාකච්ඡා කිසිම එකක තනතුරු පිළිබඳව කතා කරන්නේ. හැබැයි ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය අපි ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවකට නැවත යන්න බලාපොරොත්තුවකුත් නැහැ. ඒකත් අපි කියනවා.
මතක තියාගන්න ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයට තනියම දිනන්න බෑ. පොහොජන පෙරමුණටත් තනියම දිනන්න බෑ.
Do not ask in such a manner. We have a national candidate as well and he will be given leadership to national policies. It will not take long for us to locate that leadership.
The Organisation for the Protection of the SLFP had voiced strong opposition over a merger with the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna during talks held at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters this morning.
Our stance is the SLFP must field its own candidate. We do not support the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and it is Mahinda Rajapaksa who ruined the SLFP by forming another party. We have no desire to be the nail that holds the ruined SLFP together. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is an uncontrollable person and he is one who did not even thank Basil Rajapaksa who created the platform for him to rise.
The JVP convened a media briefing today.
We are contesting the presidential election to form an alternative force which can build the country and thereafter establish a government at the next general election to build the nation further. We will not call off our campaign midway. We will not surrender to any mediation. We will not support any other candidate. Our objective is to build an alternative political leadership.
Against such a heated backdrop in the political arena, Newsfirst contacted the Elections Commission to find out about the cost of the upcoming elections. How is this going to cost us in ways we can see and don't see? Newsfirst filed this report. E.A. Veerasena, Chief Financial Officer of the Election Commission in Sri Lanka, said a cost of 4 billion rupees has been estimated for any of the upcoming elections. Approximately 1 billion rupees is expected to be spent on administration purposes, including for services of the police and employees of the Postal Department. Approximately 300 million rupees will be allocated for printing and other documentation activities. Veerasena also said approximately 350,000 staff will be assigned for election activities at polling stations across the island. Experts say elections add up to billions of rupees in direct costs, but also run up massive, uncalculated hidden costs that eat into the country's future economic growth. Economists have highlighted that uncalculated opportunity costs also include promised costs that are part of the Sri Lankan election culture of buying votes.
And when we spend billions of rupees directly from the tax money, there are other indirect costs also. When we make the election promises, that will carry some other types of expenditure to into the future as well. When the candidate makes unnecessary or unwarranted expenditure proposals at the election, in fact, that will carry burdens on the economy to the future. And when we make election promises, in the past it has always expanded the government expenditure in an unnecessary way.
The CFO at the Election Commission further stressed the 4 billion rupee estimate does not reflect the cost campaign financing. Newsfirst spoke to Transparency International Sri Lanka in this regard.
There is no campaign finance regulations. That means that We have no understanding of where the money is coming from, how much is being collected, how it is being spent, and that is quite concerning because not understanding what are the financial forces that support candidates getting elected is a crucial thing to shed more light on.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Stay tuned for more news.
I will one day build the best vehicle in the world and bring glory to my country.
Empowering the dreams of the next generation.
Main sponsor Lanka Kiri Edat Adat Hetat Hondama De Pamanai.
Welcome back to the news. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands Administration plans to develop a container transshipment terminal. Indian authorities say the plan is to provide Indian shippers an alternative to the Colombo, Singapore and Port Klang in Malaysia transshipment ports.
The Port Management Board of Andaman and Nicobar Islands has called for an expression of interest from global players to participate in the terminal development under the private-public partnership mode. The developers need to design, finance, construct, operate and maintain the container terminal for 30 years. According to the EOI, the proposed terminal would distribute cargo to the region, including the east coast of India and neighbouring countries, provide services for repositioning of empty containers, handle local cargo and operate as a logistics hub. Analysts say Sri Lanka's transshipment business at Colombo port, which mainly handles subcontinental cargo, may come under threat soon. Independent analysts observe that in the backdrop of Indian plans to develop a major shipping hub in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the government of Sri Lanka is to be muddle-headed when negotiating for Colombo port's East Container Terminal project. To permit Indian involvement in the Colombo East Terminal would be at odds with India's own development in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It would be appropriate to note that the Indian port would be a few hours sailing time away from the Colombo port. The Colombo port is a well-known and major transshipment hub in this region. It appears that once again Sri Lanka's forward planning strategies are lacking in depth and substance, which will only work to the detriment of the people of Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka's external sector has strengthened further in June this year, with a marked contraction in the trade deficit as imports declined and exports increased marginally.
In its external sector performance review for the month, the central bank said the trade deficit narrowed to US $316 million, the lowest since October 2010. The considerable reduction was due to the decline in import expenditure by 23.1% and an increase of export earnings by 5.8%. The main contributor for the reduction in imports were identified as 39.4% decrease in the importation of consumer goods, 67.2% decrease in personal vehicles, 17% decrease in fuel, and 82.1% in transport equipment. Vehicle registration also declined in June this year. The CBSO release notes that the growth in exports were driven by the improved performances in textile and garments and the rubber product exports.
We have witnessed a $480 million reduction in the trade deficit, which comprises of an increase in exports of $60 million and a reduction in imports of $420 million. Now, if you dig deeper into the numbers, exports have increased by $60 million, garments have increased by $50 million, and transport equipment have increased by $58 million. And we have seen a reduction in agricultural produce value that contributed to the $60 million increase in exports. The larger component came primarily from three components, the largest being transport equipment, which is a drop of $107 million. The second contributory factor has been personal vehicles, which have reduced by $99 million, and that can be explained by almost a 55% drop in personal vehicles. And the third contributor has been in fuel, which was $58 million. And the reason for that is that there's been slightly lower consumption.
Notice was served on Prime Minister's Secretary Saman Ekanayake to appear before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing fraud and corruption at state institutions over the past 4 years. Accordingly, Saman Ekanayake has been given a notice to report to the police unit of the Presidential Commission at 9 a.m. on the 27th of August. This is with regard to a complaint filed citing financial embezzlement that had taken place when leasing a building in Rajgiri for the Ministry of Agriculture. Earlier, it was revealed at the Presidential Commission it was the Prime Minister who had put forward the cabinet paper to lease the building for the Ministry of Agriculture.
The amendment of People's Bank Bill was taken up in Parliament today for the second reading.
The amendment bill submitted to Parliament on the 24th of May proposed to increase the authorised capital of the People's Bank to 50 billion rupees. The bill proposes the authorised capital of the bank shall be rupees 50 billion divided into 1 billion shares of rupees 50 each. The bill provides for the bank to raise any sums by the issue of debentures with the approval of the minister. It also states the determination of the paid-up capital under this enhanced authorised limit will be done by an order published in the Gazette, and every order made by the minister shall be brought before Parliament for approval. These amendments have proposed special powers to the minister. It provides for the banks to raise any sum by the issue of debentures with the approval of the minister. Our question is, does the minister need this much of power? So this House needs an assurance that these debentures will not be converted into share capital. After this was built and maintained with the money of the people, and later when it is allowed to collapse, it is only then that these companies want to buy a stake in it. When considering the current situation of the People's Bank, Sri Lankan Airlines has a debt of 102 billion rupees to the People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon and the Petroleum Corporation. But the people of the country have to pay the price for that through the People's Bank. Now Sri Lankan Airlines is being sold. The Bank of Ceylon, which collapsed after giving loans to Sri Lankan Airlines, is also being sold. This act is going to take all of this to its grave. We are at a stage where the Monetary Board should be strengthened. The government is removing the Monetary Board. They are removing the Monetary Board from the process of issuing debentures and handing it all over to the administration of the banks. Who are in the administration of the banks? The administrators of the bank is the chairman of the bank appointed by the minister. They are fulfilling their political motives on one hand, and when the bank is in trouble, they can issue shares. In the 1980s, there was an attempt from the UNP government. They are saying that raising our voices is wrong. It is because we raised our voices that Finance Minister D.B. Wijetunga had to withdraw a similar attempt made in 1986. We will be presenting amendments, and if you do not include those amendments, we will object to this. These banks have given loans of more than 50 billion rupees to Sri Lankan Airlines. We cannot see Sri Lankan Airlines as an institution that earns a revenue for the country. I recently travelled in an aircraft of Sri Lankan Airlines, and it was like a fish market. This is our government. The officials in these positions are our people. Can't these officials inside this fish market be corrected? If we continue like this, how will we move forward with the world and develop? It is the money of the people that is being given as loans to institutions like Sri Lankan Airlines, which in turn increases poverty in our country. These are debentures. They are not equity shares. The next question asked is as to if these debentures can be converted into equity shares. No, they cannot. We have not presented any amendment that gives the ownership of the bank to any private entity. Why are these amendments necessary? Without amending this, can we sell all these debentures and raise the money that we need? The answer to that is no. Under the current system, without a guarantee from the Treasury, these debentures cannot be issued. If we are to show the strength of the bank must be able to issue these debentures without a Treasury guarantee. Although some people say that this will remove this bank from the purview of the central bank, that is not true.
ඔබතුමා මොකද්ද මේක බලාගෙන කියවන්නේ? ඔබතුමා කියවුවද මේක? මොකද්ද තියෙන්නේ ඒකේ? පෙන්නන්න. රණවීර මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කරුණාකරලා මේ නිකන් බොරුවට කෑ ගහන්න නැතුව කරුණාකරලා පෙන්නන්න කොහෙද කියලා මේක අයින් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. වහලා ගහන්න ඕනේ නැහැ මේ ඕපන් එකේ කතා කරන්නේ. ඕක තමයි වහලා ගන්න ඔබතුමා කරුණාකරලා මේක කියවන්න.
A passenger ferry service from Colombo Fort to Union Place through the Beira Lake was launched today under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation funded the project, which cost 100 million rupees. The Sri Lankan Navy designed the two ferries launched today, and each can carry 50 passengers and given time. With the launch of this service, it is possible to travel from Colombo Fort to Union Place in less than 10 minutes. Through it takes more time than off-road transportation in peak hours. Passengers can use this service free of charge for a period of 1 month. A fire erupted at a reserve in the Aldarock region in Bulletin today. Eyewitnesses said that the blaze has not yet been doused. We inquired on the matter from the Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre of the Bulletin District, EML Udayakumara. He said that wildlife officers are in charge of this region. He also added that the fire erupted this morning, and since the blaze erupted in a precipice, dousing the fire is quite difficult. The Assistant Director further said that the Army is also assisting the wildlife officers in the region.
The Vasanave Charikava, organised by the National Lotteries Board, began from Point Pedro this morning.
The Vasanave Charikava was organised in line with the 4,000th draw of the Mahajana Sampatha Lottery of the National Lotteries Board. The tour will travel across the island over a period of 16 days. The launch of the tour was held at the Point Pedro today and was attended by high-ranking officials of the Lotteries Board. The National Lotteries Board are awarding special prizes to the general public during the tour. In Sports Minister Harin Fernando said that measures have been taken to include an amendment to the Sports Act where people connected to gambling cannot hold any positions in sports bodies. Today, a gazette released to include an amendment to the Sports Act where anyone connected to gambling cannot hold positions in sports bodies. We spoke to the ICC on this matter, and they said that the person in question cannot hold any position in the ICC. Therefore, the same will be applied in Sri Lanka. We released the gazette as per the law of the country. Today is an important day for all sports, not only cricket. I was informed that Sports Minister, using a gazette, decided to remove all those connected to gambling from sports bodies. Recently, sports clubs informed the Sports Minister about people in Parliament involved in cricket and that they need to remove them. The Sports Minister has a responsibility to write to the Attorney General and seek the legal opinion on penalising those connected to fraud and theft. The Sports Minister now has the opportunity to remove these people and also penalise them for the offences they committed. The decision taken by the Sports Minister needs to be commended. The sports regulations dated 27th October 2016 clearly state any person directly or indirectly connected to gambling cannot hold any position related to cricket. However, former President of Sri Lanka Cricket, Tilanga Sumdipala, remains within the cricket administration of Sri Lanka as the immediate past president. In addition, he leads the Sri Lanka Cricket World Affairs Committee as well. The amendment by the Sports Minister will not only see people connected to sports bodies be barred from holding any position, they will also be barred from being involved in the administration. On 3 previous occasions, the sports clubs informed the Sports Ministry it was illegal for ex-SLC President Tilanga Sumdipala to be in the present administration of SLC. In addition, the Code of Ethics of the ICC also bar any person connected to gambling from holding any position. My brother was mentioned. Yes, when he was playing cricket, this was a business. I was 15 when my father passed away. I do not need to hide the businesses of my brother. He paid the taxes and did not commit any theft. Serious concerns are raised over ex-SLC President Tilanga Sumdipala being involved in the administration of SLC in such a backdrop. The minister must take immediate steps to remove such people connected to such businesses from sports as soon as possible. And with that, wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching News First. Good night and take care.